Good evening everyone. Welcome to Design Charcha. The new name for the earlier Chai Pe Charcha is Design Charcha. And I want to thank everybody who has sent a lot of interesting questions. So I will start with the first one. What is information graphics and how important it is? So information graphics, what it does is that it translates complex information into simplified visual language, and it enhances the way it is communicated, so you can read and understand it much better than going through large volumes of text. So for example, many times we use it for translating or presenting statistical information. So it is also called visual display of quantitative information, and sometimes we use that to do this reconstruction of an event, or sometimes we use it to explain a concept, and it is very useful for translating numbers. So if you look at a spreadsheet, or if you look at statistical information, for example, the COVID related admissions, or people who have found positive all over India over the last 6 months. So instead of looking at a spreadsheet or a complicated mathematical equation or a huge set of numbers, you can understand it much better using visuals. So in the hands of a good designer, it is a very effective tool to communicate it better. There are a lot of studies which showed that images, when complex information is broken down to simplified images, the brain finds it much more convenient to understand and remember. So it is a very important thing, and we use it very effectively. A lot of people are working on it in websites, on apps. For example, stock market, how do you keep a watch on the stocks you're there in the watch list, or the kind of things happening in the stock market. And in a lot of other data like COVID related issues, or climate or weather, and a lot of things, information graphics can be very important. So apart from complex numbers, sometimes we can reconstruct an event through a well-designed information graphic. So that time, instead of going through an entire story, you can understand very clearly what is happening in your screen. And you might have seen bar charts and line graphs and things like that happening. So it is all very effective way, and storytelling, if you want to reconstruct an event, or you want to explain how a mask is effective in controlling infections coming to you. So all these things we can explain very well through information graphics. Very widely used in newspapers, magazines, and a lot of websites are there where very interesting way they translate information into visuals. Second is, what is the role of a designer in a newspaper? So designers are extremely important. That is very important part of a newspaper. Nowadays, a newspaper is using different channels to communicate to the readers apart from print. Almost all the newspapers have a web edition. You can check the e-paper. You can download a PDF. There are apps. A lot of magazines and newspapers have their own apps where you can download the app and then read it and read all the information you need. So there are multiple channels of information a newspaper gives, and each one needs specialized group of designers to work for it, and the overall design and typography of a print page of a newspaper is not the same as the one we see on a website and on the app. So everything needs, it is a different ball game with visual language and a lot of technological constraints happening are needed are there in each one of them. So you need good support on the editorial, and you need to have different teams of designers working on these different platforms. But overall, it should also make sure that they are part of the same visual grammar, visual language of the entire newspaper. So now, the role of a designer in a newspaper is very, very important, and when there are a lot of channels of dissemination of information to the public, it becomes all the more important to have designers in a newspaper. And it is a day-to-day activity. A lot of design has to be created according to the content of that day. It is a misunderstanding that one template is done and anybody can do it. A lot of times the design keeps changing because we need to explore a lot of possibilities in that. What is the scope of typography mainly in the domain of digital designs, UI? We can't see any typography designer positions in IT industry. Do we need to increase the awareness of typography in digital age? I don't think so. There are a lot of designers working in the industry, and actually the need or requirement for designers have increased manifold over the last 15 years in the IT industry. Mainly what you have mentioned, the UI and the user experience, and a lot of other things on multiple platforms for a lot of other things like web and app usage and all that. So typography is a subdomain of communication design, and communication designers are very important part of the IT industry. If you look anywhere, you will see that everybody has a design team and team of people working on it. And as a part of their job, as a bigger umbrella when you think about communication design, the typography is playing an important role in that. So we cannot say that a typography designer needs a position in IT industry. It is already there, and typography is one of the important things in the hands of in the domain of communication design. How to know I have the ability to become a full-time designer? What is the life being a designer? So the ability is that it is better that you read up on design and what are the specializations in design. You will definitely come to know that there is something which rings a bell inside you, and go and meet people who are working in that area. Of course, you can't physically meet them now, but a lot of people are doing that, in Instagram and Facebook and all those places. You can initiate a discussion with designers working in different domains and ask them all the questions, and you can decide for yourself. And there are a lot of those tests like Seed and USeed and all that. You can download all the question papers from there and see how is your attitude towards design. What is the life being a designer? How was your experience as a... I enjoyed being a designer, I think, much before I went for graduation. I wanted to be a designer. So when I joined my design school, the first thing I liked is that you draw and do all these creative things, and it is part of your assignment. Your parents can't say anything that, instead of studying, why are you drawing or making something? That is something I enjoyed. What is life being a designer? Professionally, I really enjoyed it. One thing is that in many of the design domains, you are as good as what you have done on that day. Past is just gone, and that challenge is something which is very interesting. I found it very interesting. Every day starts in a new page, and it is very magical that there is nothing in front of you. Somebody comes and says, okay, I want book cover, and just absolute nothing, you are creating something, and then you make some options and you keep doing that creative process. It is very enjoyable and very spiritual, and I enjoy my life as a designer. How to do bilingual typesetting in Indian languages? So whenever we do type composing, you have to be very careful about the overall X height and cap height of the fonts which you are working with. And the biggest challenge when we do bilingual typesetting is that one script should not shout out of the page or out of the composed matter. So many times you will see a page set in Hindi, Devanagari script, has one word which is written in English and it looks double the size, it shouts at you. That is because they have taken everything in the same point size. So 12 point of one language might not match 12 point of English or Roman script. So visually you need to scale it down to achieve a kind of a harmony in typography. So in typesetting in the hands of a good designer, what we are trying to do is trying to achieve kind of a visual harmony and try to be silent in terms of the visual impact. So, and in India, I mean, we have not only bilingual but we have multilingual typesetting. So you have to be very careful about the X height, the cap height, how much leading you are using, and then whenever you use different languages, should look at, you have to be very careful about selecting fonts for each one of them. Especially when we are doing a multilingual typesetting. Try your best to get fonts which are harmonious to each other. Of course, now, last few years, there are Style Foundries who are releasing fonts in multiple languages. For example, Balu is available in so many languages that if you take all of them, they all get along very well with each other because the main designer has made sure that the visual grammar is harmonious and similar in all of them. So that has to be taken care of. Many times we won't have the luxury of having a font in same foundry in all the languages. Then we need to select fonts which are available in each script. Then you have to be very careful whether the language is the visual language is harmonious. The fonts, do they get along well with each other? What is the importance of sketching for design students? Sketching for any design student is one of the most important activities in learning any design activity. It improves your visual sensitivity, your observation power, and the ability to translate ideas from your brain to a visual existence. So it is a big, little bit of a problem is that a lot of younger design students, especially in the first year, find it very difficult to cope up with the requirements of learning design, sketching in academic environment. And there also there is misunderstanding that even if you don't do any sketching, you can. My personal opinion is that it's extremely important in any design learning to do sketching, and you should have a lot of patience. But whatever I have experienced is it will definitely improve the way you observe things around, and your ability to translate things from your brain to the paper. I had one teacher in MS University, Baroda, where sometimes we used to go, he'll take all of us for a walk, come back and say that now you draw that tree which you saw on this road or this side of this place and things like that. So it improves the way the memory works and the way you observe things. And many times you have seen the same tree 100 times, but you don't know whether the details and how whether we can draw it or not. So you start looking at things around you in a very different way. So I think, my personal opinion is that sketching is very important, and don't try to shy away from it. Give it the best shot. After, if you are a student who is just starting to learn design, just handle it for at least a few months. Soon you will start enjoying it, and you will definitely see that I can assure you that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, that you will definitely enjoy the result of this sketching. What are your top 5 favorite logos or symbols? I have so many, but I will, since you have asked for 5, I will list down. My most favorite is SBI symbol, designed by Shekhar Kamath. I am in touch with him, and he's a wonderful person. He gave a talk, and he gave the inaugural address in the day we formally inaugurated the Typography Society of India. It is a wonderful symbol, SBI, and the most important thing is it is very unique, and it withstood the passage of time, close to 50 years, and it is still relevant, and there is no need to redesign at all. I really wish and pray that SBI doesn't go for any redesign or rebranding of that. It is a landmark in the history of Indian graphic design, and it's a wonderful symbol. The next one, favorite of mine is the Welcome Group symbol, designed by my guru, Professor R.K. Joshi. And I like FedEx logo a lot. The typography and the wonderful way of using a negative space to form an arrow, white space, is wonderful. The color scheme, and it is excellent symbol and word mark of FedEx. Then I love this Hindustan Petroleum and Titan, both are done by Sri Sudarshan Dheer. It is very meaningful and very well designed. I love this symbol of Indian Airlines. It is not there anymore. Designed by Binoy Sarkar from NID. It's a wonderful design of Indian Airlines, and my childhood I grew up watching it all the time, being an aviation enthusiast. But I really like that symbol of Indian Airlines. Would you please name a few magazines which has impressed you the most in terms of design? There are so many. Again, it is a bit difficult to. But I am the most. My favorite of all time is there is one weekend magazine called Folio. It was an A4 size magazine which used to come with the Hindu newspaper. It is no longer there now. It was there in the 80s. It was a wonderful design, very simple and very clean design. It is one of the best magazines I have ever seen. I don't know why it is no longer there. My student days in graphic design and all, I used to love that magazine. I still remember the body copy was set in Palatino. And many times, if in a third column, if the copy ends midway, they just let it be, and they never try to balance the columns. They'll let that white space be. And wonderful photographs, the imagery was fabulous in that. So I really I loved that magazine, Folio. A lot of times, even now, when people discuss about well-designed magazines, one of the first names which come to the mind is Folio. And there was one more magazine called Folio from abroad. It was about magazine design, and it was also very well designed magazine. I like India Today and Outlook both, and especially when Outlook started, the first 4 or 5 years, the design was brilliant, and they used to make very good use of the imagery and integration of headlines and overall layout, and very good use of photographs. And the covers were very good, and typography was excellent. So, before I go ahead, I will just read a question from Kalapi. Because typeface design / font production for Indic scripts requires a multidisciplinary approach, there is knowledge and practice in design and draftsmanship, programming, linguistics, among others. What are your thoughts on typeface design pedagogy at an undergraduate level? It is very, very important that we take them through the basics of typography first, but later we should give them enough path for people who are interested in typeface design to take it up further. And then we should give a very good foundation in typeface design at an undergraduate level. I feel all the design schools in India should do that, because we are badly in need of real good quality font designers in Indian languages, and it is a real big void. And I agree completely on this, that we should do this, and it should be a step-by-step process, that we should look at first 6 semesters or first 4 semesters on giving them a good foundation on looking at letter form design and calligraphy both. Then another at least 3 semesters we should give them enough time to focus on typeface design. And like my teacher used to tell me that draw organic shapes, pick up a leaf or take a flower and draw 100 leaves and 100 flowers every week. Aim for 100 of them, and look at different kinds of leaves in the around you, or different flowers, branches and things like that, animals. And so he used to tell us that relation, studying and relationship of curve and basic forms with geometric forms is extremely important when we are learning typography. And the way you do hand composing in letterpress, it is very, very important to get yourself sensitized towards good typography. Because when you pick up a hairline space and put it and take a print and see the difference, and then instead of one you put 2 hairline spaces between 2 words and again take a print, you do it 55 times, 60 times, then you realize that your eye gets very tuned to look at the details. God is in the details. So I think that kind of design pedagogy which existed at that time actually helped. When I look back, I think every assignment had a very good reason for being given to us. I still remember in my undergraduate time, sometimes we were given this justified text, 9-point Gilsons, I still remember. And when we do it first 3-4 times, my professor used to tell me, this is not right, just go back and do it again. none of us understood what this all about. But he used to mark, okay, do one hairline space here, one here, and then do this way. Spread, compensate for this space there, like that. And slowly, after so many assignments like that, we realized that, okay, now maybe the ninth print has better typography than what I did for the first time. I think in the first year nobody realized what is a big deal about letter space and word space and all that. And I am sure even in second year many of us thought Helvetica and Universe looked the same. So these are my thoughts on typeface design pedagogy, is that we need to develop a real good system. That is what we are doing in IDC, that we have developed a very good foundation program and good exposure. Still we are refining it, and we are redesigning the way we teach typeface typography in the undergraduate level. But I am very happy that some of the undergraduate students are doing some wonderful work in typeface design, and very, very innovative work they are doing, and calligraphy also. So we are on the track towards getting a good philosophy of design pedagogy at the undergraduate level. I really thank Calabi for writing that, because I really feel that should be done and discussed and fine-tuned by all the undergraduate level design. Otherwise we will end up with having only 5 or 4, less than 10 font designers in the country when we have 22 official languages. How? Okay, so I was in that, what are the can you name a few magazines? So other magazines which has impressed me the most is Time magazine. The Economist I like a lot. Computer Arts, there was a magazine from the US. The beginning, first 2-3 years, that was wonderful design. And we used to learn a lot about Photoshop and Illustrator and all that from that. Illustrated Weekly, I loved the design of that. And they used to use Futura font a lot in the 80s. I still remember I used to cut samples of Futura from that and put it in a scrapbook, and then keep on, I kept on drawing, how to recreate this Futura with brush and all that. Then there was a magazine called Sri, not only my name, but it was a wonderful magazine. It was a weekend magazine published by Malayalam Manorama. It was part of the newspaper, designed by Sainul Abid. I think it was one of the best weekend magazine designs. He was a very creative guy. He used to do some wonderful experiments in that magazine called Sri. I still remember in Onam, for a special edition in Onam. So it is, I think it's a 12-page, smaller than A4 kind of a size, which used to come free with the Malayalam Manorama newspaper on a Sunday. And on Onam Sadhya, they did a very interesting photograph on the top right corner of the page, where as you flip the page, so on the first page there is an empty leaf, banana leaf, and when you keep flipping the page, new things are added to it. Sadhya is like a meal given on Onam day on a banana leaf, where there are a lot of things, around 20 items are there. So at the last page you will see the full meal. So I found it very interesting, like a flip book. But this is on the top right corner, and typographically it was a brilliant, it was like a UNLC. Yeah, UNLC is one magazine I think every typographer loves. That one of my all-time favorites is that UNLC magazine. And one of the important things they did is that they Art director changed in every issue, the grid and the font structure, everything changed. And it was a wonderful magazine, UNLC. The next is why some fonts don't display properly in PDF or don't display at all in PDF file. Because I think some fonts have a built-in lock, or you can do some work in InDesign or Illustrator, but when you save it or export as a PDF file, it will not be shown. So when you generate a font in FontLab or Glyph, it gives you the option to put a lock. So you'll be able to see it, but you will not, so you need to convert to Curve or use some other open source font for solving this problem, or rasterize in a layer. What is the reason for ignorance of Indian scripts, calligraphy or typography in design colleges in India? I think one is that there is a lot of this, this British hang up because of this. They wrote the syllabus and many design art schools followed that blindly for a long time. And it was meant to create people to take care of and to give them cheap workforce for the advertising agencies. But later what happened is they fell into a trap of not giving any respect to Indian language typography or to meet the requirements, the increasing demands of publishing industry or communication problems of communication related issues in Indian languages. So design community didn't look at it much, and then soon after the 80s when this desktop revolution came, so then it went into those DTP things, and a lot of people who don't have any sensitivity or don't care about good design started creating all kind of publishing things which didn't show any sensitivity towards good typography, and lack of awareness is one thing, and calligraphy is that those days we couldn't find many people going into Indian language calligraphy, and the Applied Art Institutes not teaching that also added fuel to the fire. But now a lot of things are changing, and a lot of design schools are teaching encouraging students to work on typography and calligraphy and also Indian languages, and I think it is a very good change what has happened over the last 10 years. And you look at social media now, you will see hundreds of youngsters who are doing their own calligraphy and typography on their own language, and it is wonderful to see that happening. You take Tamil or Kannada or Gurumukhi, there are so many children, youngsters who are teenagers who are doing some wonderful work in Indian language. So things are changing. I think now even if you don't teach that in applied art institutions, things have changed, and there are a lot of self-taught calligraphers and typographers emerging. This is a very good thing for India, and I think it will work out really well. That a lot of good things are happening. And one good thing about the lockdown is that a lot of these youngsters or other people also who have taken up calligraphy and typography after March, I will call them as like a good side effect of Corona. They have taken up social media in a real way, and they are interacting with each other across different age groups and all that. So that I find it very interesting, because the youngsters are getting to see other people's work, interact with them, Instagram live and Facebook live and all those things, and strangers can just meet each other and talk and look at their work and exchange notes on different tools and nibs and inks and all kind of things are happening. So that encourages a lot of youngsters to take it up. And I've seen a lot of youngsters have started doing calligraphy who are all self-taught. Because of this inspiration they are getting from social media. So in Instagram, a lot of calligraphers have started this Instagram live. You can send a request and start chatting with them, and they are sharing lot of interesting things to each other, and I find it very, very good because that gives an encouragement to children. I look back at the days I was in a class of 30. I was taught calligraphy when I was in the 5th standard, and maybe I was only one from that batch to take it up further. But now things are so different, and most of my friends in Instagram and Facebook are a lot of the youngsters who are self-taught, and they can just look at the videos of others and learn themselves. YouTube videos, all these things are there. What you just pick up a tool and that's it. You can learn and do. So I think lockdown in one way has done some good things to typography and calligraphy. Ambigrams, a lot of people are working on ambigrams. A lot of people are exploring figure and ground and different kinds of calligraphic tools. So now you can see youngsters who are just 12th standard or first year degree. They're equally good at brush pen and steel nib and all that. So, and they're exploring so much of with the different materials. They're taking inspiration from all over the media, and then many professional calligraphers are putting up YouTube videos to help others learn how to do different kinds of brush script or oblique pen and Old English, Fractal and Roman and Chancery, all these things, Siddham script, Devanagari, Malayalam, Tamil, all these things are all there now. And you can, some of them are free, some of them are paid, but it is happening. It is what Calabi is mentioning about the typeface design activity. I think it will get a real good boost 1 year from now because of this lockdown. So much of good interaction is happening now. I attended one last week. I attended 2 of them, where 2 calligraphers are talking to each other. Just listening to them gives you a lot of encouragement, a lot of ideas about different tools, scale of work, and what are the mistakes people do in calligraphy, how to overcome them, a lot of these things. And they share ideas about how they started it, and what are the, how do they handle their time, and what encouraged them to take it up. And all of them are self-taught. You mentioned about license for fonts. What is the need for purchasing licenses for fonts? So it is very important. It is a question of ethics. Somebody has spent years of his or her life in designing a font, and you just copy it from some friend's computer and use it. We are denying somebody small income, very small income, which they deserve. And it is a question of ethics that why we are doing all the softwares, you buy licenses of all softwares. Why do we do that? Or if we cannot afford, we go and take open source software. If you can't buy Photoshop license, then many people are using GIMP and a lot of this open source softwares. And we spend a lot of money on buying the operating system like Windows or Mac, Apple, or we go for a Linux operating system. So it is a question of ethics that I really feel all designers should encourage their clients to buy fonts and use. And we should all work together and take initiative to stop font piracy. All the clients I have worked with have purchased the fonts they want. It is all affordable to all the corporates and whichever business. Nowadays a good font can come even in a range of around 5,000 Indian rupees. I think all of us should, but that makes a difference to the person who designed it. So as a question of ethics, and you should respect somebody's hard work. As a creative person, I come across creative block, mental block many times in a design process. Have you experienced it? How do you handle such a block? So I have not faced it much, because when I started off my profession, I was in newspaper and then I was working in all magazines. So I couldn't afford to have a creative block, because in a newspaper, whatever work is given to you, you have to give it on the same day. And everything is very clear about, everybody is clear about the deadline, and I can't go and tell the editor, okay, this illustration I am not getting any idea, so give me some more time. It never happened. My photographer guru, Rajiv sir, has said, thanks talking for not to pirate fonts. He is one of the most very influential font designers I have met, and in my student days he has helped me a lot with teaching me photographer, and we call each other photographer. And Lord, I have seen lot of people. He has designed lot of fonts in Indian languages, and I have seen many people pirating his fonts. So I really feel that we should respect each font designer and we should buy it. And if somebody has a misunderstanding that these are all very expensive, we should tell them it is not. So maybe 3 times you go out and have a dinner with family, that much money is all need you to buy a licensed copy of that font which you are using. Creative block, so I couldn't afford to go through this creative block and solving it, but a lot of my students are asking me, many times ideas don't come what to do and all. The only answer is try learning some spiritual exercise like yoga and breathing techniques and pranayama and meditation and all that, Sudarshan Kriya and all that, Reiki. And once you practice that, you will never, I don't think you will never face this creative block. Once your mind is clear. But one thing helps, that sometimes what I do is I do the mind mapping. I write all the words related to the central theme I am doing, and I keep adding on more and more words in that mind map. It is like a tree, you keep on adding things. And I try to find, I think this is a very old technique, the hundreds of people have mentioned this, that they all do this, write down all kind of keywords which are related to the theme which you are trying to do. And somehow it will work out. But some meditation and yoga and all, it will definitely help you remove the clutter in your mind. And it is good for every human being, not only designer but everybody. But I personally feel that if you do that, give your 100% to it, you will not face any of this creative block. But doing a real good mind map and a mood board will help. So I will take the last question, that when I do justified text, there is lot of problems with the spacing of letters and words. What is your experience handling this, and can you suggest something about the text wrap? So, I think everybody who handles justified text and has some irregular shape intruding into the text block faces this issue. So, many times what I do in magazine design is that I tell my page design people that if you have too much of irregular shapes, to use a different transparent object on top of it. Use straight lines to do as much straight simplified lines to do the text wrap. And many times I do left line text, so I don't face this issue of reverse and bubbles and all that. And as a rule, what I follow is that even if a irregular shape intrudes into a text block, I don't allow more than 1/4 of the total width of the column. You mark out 1/4 of it. So an irregular shape should not intrude more than 1/4 of the total width of the column. And if it is a body text, I keep the text wrap distance as 1 pica or 5 millimeters. And if there are too many rag edges on the image, then I create my own vector object on top of it. Then I give a fill none, stroke none, and use text wrap on that object, not on the image. And I simplify the edges in such a way that the text wrap is very smooth. So that will help the readability. And another thing what I do is after the print is on, after the rough printout is taken, I look at it from a reader's viewpoint, and I am not a designer, I am a reader. And how I will look at it and what are the problems. So maybe down the line, I kept on looking at it and I kept on thinking about, and I take a lot of comments from the real readers who are not designers. I take those comments very seriously. So somehow I visualize how that person's eye will move and how it will work. And I try to reduce this kind of intrusions. That is why I personally developed this rule of 1/4. More than 1/4 of the width, don't allow any intrusion to happen. Another is minimize the zigzag patterns if there are any in the text wrap. Another advice I can give you is that check the justification settings if you are using InDesign or Illustrator. So the maximum will be 133, you can reduce it to 125. The minimum will be 80, that you can reduce to 75. Otherwise, even if then it doesn't work, then you can keep this rule of, don't allow that to happen for more than 1/4. So I will stop here. I want to thank all the people who have sent so many questions, and I couldn't answer all of them because we have a time limitation. But the other questions, whichever I have not answered, I will send an email as a reply. And the next session will be on next month, first or second Friday of the month. Thank you very much. Namaste.